This evening, as I was meditating and contemplating and tuning in to people who would be present, or maybe someone who will be watching this video down the road, I felt I should talk about something that I don't normally talk about. And that would be prayer. Prayer is kind of a hot button issue, actually, because generally it's associated with like sorcery or, casting spells or calling the wrath down upon your enemies. And I don't think that's the enlightened way to pray. As human beings, we have a lot of things that hit us from time to time. I know I have. I lost my mother and my father and my brother, my little doggy. I've had relationships go south on me, break my heart. I've had a lot of business misadventures. And there have been times in my life, as I'm sure there's been times in your life, where everything just seemed to be too much. You were overwhelmed, maybe overwhelmed by fear or frustration or whatever, but you just felt like you had reached the end of your rope. You can try meditating. Sometimes that works, but many times it doesn't, because the energy is so high around you in this atmosphere of loss that it's hard to feel that connection to spirit. My teacher said that it was like our path was like standing on a three-legged stool: meditation, contemplation, and prayer. I think most of us meditate pretty well. Some of us contemplate quite a bit. I know I do. Every morning I have a talk with my brother, and he contemplates by reading. He reads these amazing books: the Hinayana, the Mahayana, the Vajrayana, the Pathway of Roses. He always has some beautiful book, some beautiful thing that he's bringing to the morning. And we have these wonderful Dharma talks. We're contemplating the higher ethers. Emerson said that when two or more gather together and contemplate upon the higher ethers, it waxes over them greater than their sum. So contemplation is a really good thing. Meditation is, well, what can I say about that? But prayer is sometimes misunderstood. During those times when you are beyond all of your efforts, when everything has failed, when maybe your child is dying or something of that nature is going on that just overwhelms you, then it's time to pray. Each one of us, as I said last week, has our own universe. And in our universe, we have a God that we worship. Someone who's a Muslim will have a God of Allah. Christians have the God of Jehovah. We all have a God inside of us that is us, because we are God. We are made of God. We come from God. We go back to God. We've never left God. The Holy Spirit is in all things. But we get lost in this world sometimes, and all we can see is hopelessness. Our world falling apart sometimes. And that's when we need to pray. Meditation might help. Contemplation might help a little bit, but prayer really works if it's done right. When you're faced with something that you cannot comprehend how to get over it, a mountain so huge that you don't see any way you can climb it. That's the time, really the most satisfying time to pray. You have an energetic body that manifests itself in this physical temple. But that energetic body is connected to eternity. That energetic body has a way of accessing the infinite power of creation. And when you're really desperate and you really need some help, maybe you're about to face a disaster, a car accident, you can see it coming, you don't know what to do. In that moment, you can reach deep within yourself and cry out to your higher self, that part of you that loves you more than anything out there. You can cry out to it and say, help me during this time of need. We can do it for others also. If we see someone suffering and they're asking us to help them, we can reach to our higher self and connect to their higher self and bring them into the Dharma, what is correct, what is the best thing for all concerned. Too often we consider prayer to be voodoo, where we're casting spells on people, or we're trying to satisfy some egoic hunger. Oh Lord, let me have this car. If I get this car, I'll be so happy. I don't think that's proper prayer. I used to watch my mother pray. My mother was a devout Christian, and she was noted for her prayers. People would come and ask her to pray for them, and I would watch her pray. We lived in the little oil field town of Eunice, New Mexico, and across the street was the church that we went to, literally right across the street. And I remember one day, my mother got a letter in the mail. This is before telephones in that area. I'm old. But she got the letter in the mail, and it was this lady asking her. She said, please pray for my husband. He gets drunk and he beats me. And my mother grabbed me because I was the youngest one else. Both of my brothers were in school and I was very young. She grabbed a biscuit in my hand and we walked across the street to the church. And I sat on the front row and she would go down to the altar with that letter in her hand. And she would start beseeching, oh Jesus, oh Lord, please help this lady, help her, help awaken her husband, do something to help them to be safe, to be happy. Heal him so he doesn't, please, please. She would beseech and she would cry and she would ask and she would beseech and beseech and beseech. And I'd sit there waiting, eating my biscuit. And then I would notice her prayer would change. Instead of, oh Lord, please help them, it changed to a prayer of power. Thank you for the answer. Thank you for healing this being. Thank you for bringing this peace to this family. Thank you. It was all gratitude. She had prayed through her burden. It went from beseeching and asking something out there to the realization that it had already been done inside of her own heart. There was nothing more to ask. When she would start stating her truth, I quit eating the biscuit and watched. It was a moment of power. It was a moment of clear seeing. is a moment of acceptance and gratitude. So you can pray, you can have something that you just can't move through. But if you're really serious about getting the answer, you can lock yourself in your bedroom or wherever and start seeking that answer from your higher self. You can call that higher self Jehovah or Allah or Christ or Sai Baba. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's all God. Your higher self that loves you more than anything. And you can pull that power into this world and make it a better place. So that to me is what prayer is. It's a sacred ritual in which you convince yourself to let go of all of the duality, all of the suffering, and to latch on to that perfect dharmic path. And when you do it, you won't be asking anymore. You'll be giving thanks because inside of you, it's already done. It's already there. So yeah, we have meditation, which is seeking the presence. We have contemplation where we're looking for different avenues of opening up our mind and our hearts to a greater understanding. And we have prayer. Prayer that doesn't harm anyone. Prayer that seeks to let go of the ignorance of life. Prayer that does no harm, but relieves suffering. So there are times when you pray. Sometimes it's a good idea to pray for enlightenment. I do. I'm always seeking a greater understanding and a greater awareness of the infinite. I know that I cannot, within my mental capacities, understand the enormity of life. But I do know that there's a part of me that is one with that enormity, one with that infinite presence, and that I can open myself up to that and walk in the light. So it's a good idea to pray for to whatever God or whatever you want to pray to, but it should be your higher self, whatever form that takes. And if you get in a bind and you can't pray through, and call me or call one of your friends and say, I can't see through this myself. Will you please pray with me so that I can be healed of this suffering, this trauma? We do that for each other. Just this afternoon, I was talking to an old friend, and I told him, he was telling me about his suffering, and it's, I'm going to pray for you. And when we got off the phone, I held him in the light. I saw eternity flowing through him. Whatever happens will be correct. I'm not telling the universe what to do. I just want to find peace and love in my heart concerning that situation. I would like for my friend to be happy and healthy. And if it's correct, he will be. He already is in my heart. So yeah, we should pray for each other during times of need. I think this is the first talk I've given on prayer. And I hope it is of benefit to you. Namaste.